Welcome to the bonus content video. These are ratios for special right triangles. What are special right triangles? Not every triangle is a special right triangle. Special right triangles have acute angles 30 or 60 or 45 degrees and of course a 90-degree angle in them. These are special because their ratios are always the same and they're easy to remember and they're useful for doing a lot of computationals. What I wanted you to do is, in our previous video, in our prerequisite skills video, is to shrink these the geometric ratios down so that the hypotenuse is 1. How come? Because when I'm using a reference angle, if I wanted to find the sine of the angle theta, 30 degrees, the sine is the opposite divided by the hypotenuse. Well, what happens when I divide anything by 1? It stays the same. So the sine of 30 degrees is 1/2. What's the cosine of 30 degrees? It's the adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. Your cosine is √3/2 divided by 1, which is √3/2. Next, let's do our tangent. The tangent of 30 degrees is opposite over adjacent. What's 1/2 divided by square root of 3/2? What we learned in our previous chapters is to keep change and flip. Keep change and flip, we get this to 1 over square root of 3. What did we learn earlier chapters is we have to rationalize our denominators. This will become the square root of 3 divided by 3 as a final best simplified answer. The tangent of 30 degrees is square root of 3/3. How do you fill out these three boxes? Well, they are the reciprocals of these three ratios. What is the reciprocal of 1/2? What is the reciprocal of secant? 2/√3 is rationalized as 2√3 divided by 3. I much prefer this answer than that answer because this is not simplified with a rationalized denominator. What is the reciprocal of 1/√3 or √3/3? Now I'm going to use this one because I feel like flipping that one over gives me my answer a lot quicker. So we're going to do this 2 more times. We're going to switch the reference angle to a 45-degree angle. What's the opposite over the adjacent? That's what sine is. Opposite over adjacent. √2/2. What's the cosine? What's the adjacent? Oops, if I switch the 45-degree angle, well, here's the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. It's really the same thing. It doesn't matter if I switch here. This is the adjacent of that 45 and this is the adjacent of that 45. You get the same answer either way. Tangent, opposite over adjacent. What's the square root of 2/2 divided by itself? Anything divided by itself equals 1 as long as it's not 0 divided by 0. Next, we're going to find the reciprocals of these three. So we have 2/√2. We're going to flip it over. So we flipped it over right and rationalize the denominator. That's 2√2/2. But next we now need to simplify by canceling these 2's. We get square root of 2. This is our best and final answer, that the cosecant of 45 degrees is square root of 2. There's no reason why secant wouldn't be the same thing. And what number is its own reciprocal? The answer is 1 or -1. So what's the reciprocal of 1? There we go, it's a 1. Something interesting might happen when we switch the reference angle to 60 degrees. Let's see if you can pick up on it. For the 60-degree angle, the sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse. The square root of 3 divided by 2. The adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. Adjacent to your 60 degrees is 1/2. Although this is next to it, that is the hypotenuse. 1/2. So what do you notice? These two answers resemble these two answers, kind of, sort of. They're just a little bit switched. What's the tangent? Tangent of 60 degrees is opposite over adjacent. Square root of 3 divided by 2 divided by 1/2. Keep change and flip. We get square root of 3. Where have we seen this answer before? All the way up here. So these kind of flip. Okay, that makes sense. When you reverse your acute angle, you're reversing the perspective of your triangle. Now the opposite side of your 30 degrees is the adjacent side of your 60 degrees. And let's continue on. What is the reciprocal of square root of 3/2? Well, that would have been 2√3/3. What is our reciprocal of 1/2? That is 2/1. What is our reciprocal for the square root of 3? It's 1/√3, which simplifies to be square root of 3/3. This video is not a required part of the lesson. I don't think you're going to use this as much this time, but it's just good to go over these. So why don't we continue on to our next section.